Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Modern Farming Podcast, brought to you by the Green Gene Foundation, where we are cultivating agricultural excellence every day through education.
We're your hosts, Chris and Tara, and together we're growing knowledge about the world that feeds us.
That's right, Tara, and today we have a guest from the academic world. Her name is Kiki Hubbard. She is the Kansas State Regional Director of Recruitment for the agriculture program there at the college. So welcome, Kiki. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. Like you said, my name is Kiki Hubbard. I work with Kansas State University's College of Agriculture. I just officially started in this brand new role in January, but before we got to this, there's definitely a backstory about me. So I grew up right outside of Houston, Texas, where pretty suburb kind of living there. And then as I got a little bit older, I got into 4-H and FFA. I raised American crossbred cattle and pretty much strictly beef masters when it comes to the heifer side of that. And that's what really was the stepping stone for getting into the agriculture industry for me. So what started with a couple of steers turned into a whole bunch of steers, a whole bunch of heifers that are now out at the ranch and our main donor cows. And those first couple of FFA classes and teams that I was a part of really inspired me to get into the world of agriculture pretty heavily. So when it came to graduating high school and moving into that next step of life, I love Texas. I moved back to Texas after I graduated from college, but I knew that I wanted to go away from home and just experience something new. So I can remember typing in my browser, best colleges of agriculture outside of Texas, and going through that list, kind of checking off the ones that, okay, this had a program that's pretty interesting. I could see myself living here. And as I narrowed down that search and got those applications in and had my top couple ones, Kansas State University really rose to the top for me personally and was kind of in my mind as I was finishing up my senior year of high school. But once I finally was able to go and do my campus visit, I can remember pulling into the town of Manhattan, Kansas. Shout out to anybody who might know where Manhattan, Kansas is at. And I stopped at a gas station, and the person who was checking me out asked me why I was there. I told them I was doing a college visit. And they not only were excited for me, but they gave me a list of all of these places to go to try out, gave me a contact of, you need to make sure you meet this person when you're in town. And that was before I even got to campus. And I'm definitely a very people person, and you're probably going to see that as I continue to talk in this podcast too, but I knew that it was somewhere that I was going to be welcomed. And when I got onto campus, that remained true through every visit that I did, whether it was with a faculty member or one of the staff members, or just being able to walk around campus and see the really cool things that it had to offer. So that really sealed the deal for me. Ended up going to Kansas State University for 3.5 years, changed my major a couple different times, and I could talk about that pathway too, and ended up graduating with a degree in ag communications journalism, secondary major in global food systems leadership, and then I had a minor in business. Minor in business was definitely influenced because of the cattle company. Now me and my family operate that. It's called Hubbard Cattle Company, mostly beef masters, but then with some of those American crossbred cattle. So it's really cool now to use that degree and that side of it, and I get to sell to the students who are in the same place that I once was, and that's kind of on the side. So then after graduating from Kansas State University, I started in this role as regional recruiter, brand new position, never been done before. So we're really trying to make efforts to increase our connections with people outside of the state of Kansas and connect with those students who just don't know about the opportunities that K-State has to offer. So that's really my role. I got to meet Tara while I was at Florida FFA convention, and that's when we connected. So it's been really cool to get to work with high schoolers who are so excited about what that next step is and hear about what they're passionate about and be able to kind of relate on some things about what they might be involved in or what they're looking for in their future and be able to share the opportunities that K-State has to offer them. So short answer long, that's me. And that's kind of my pathway that led me to K-State and being in this job, but also personally kind of those steps that I took to be able to further my education and now use that today.
You mentioned you raised you did a lot of cattle in 4-H. What do you have a certain time that you remember that really said this is interesting to me? I think I'm going to go for it with agriculture.
I mean, for me, getting started was a kind of journey in itself. For years, I wanted to show cattle. I had a cousin of mine who had a whole bunch of steers, and every time I would go to their house, I would go spend the entire time out in the barn and not even spending the time with my family, which I maybe could have been spending more time with that. But I always loved the idea of getting into raising cattle, the work behind it and everything. And after those first couple of years, I learned the basics of, okay, this is what you should be doing. This is how to maybe go and tweak these couple of things by feeding them differently. But I was still very much in the learning phases. And I can remember after probably the first 2 years, I started doing showmanship. Maybe some of the students who have come on here have talked about that. And so yes, it still depends on the way that your calves look in the ring, but it's also so much about how you present yourself, the things that you know about that animal, and the confidence that you have in the show ring. And I realized that there are some of those things that I maybe was lacking. Yes, I knew the fundamental of if I have this much protein in the feed, this is going to go up, but I didn't know why or how editing that just a little bit would make a difference. And then I realized too that I, as an individual, I was confident in the way that I could present myself, but it wasn't always shown and really felt in the ring. So I really took the time and the effort to get to know my animals, to get to know myself too, and kind of my why and what I was doing. And with putting that focus on the confidence and the behind the scenes work, I could see how whenever I was focusing on the animals, I also was joining an extra team at FFA. And I was thinking, oh, that would maybe be a cool contest to go and be a part of. So maybe it wasn't one certain event that made me really drawn to dive further into the industry, but it was a buildup of wanting to focus on showmanship and the work that I was doing that allowed me to see those opportunities and just gradually become more and more involved in what I was doing. And so that was definitely probably what led me to take that pathway a little bit more. And I can also kind of know an individual event. If you would like a one superstar moment, I could definitely find one of those too. I would say that if there was one moment for me that really solidified that I was on the right path that I wanted to be involved in, was probably my senior year of high school. It was the last major stock show here in Texas that I was going to go and be a part of. I had 2 heifers that I took, and one of them won her breed. She went on to go and win Reserve American at Austin Rodeo, which if you're from Texas, you know these stock shows are big. Everything in here in Texas is really big. So that was a huge deal for me. And then coming in with my second heifer, I took her on the class, won the breed. We won the entire exotic division and then went on to Supreme the entire Austin Rodeo. And so that was something that is just so cool to think about. But whenever we were walking into the ring for the grand drive, you give a biography whenever you go and you win your breed. And in the biography, you write your name, a little information about yourself, a fun fact, and then your plan for what you want to do after high school. And so senior year, it was so cool for me to be able to write, I'm going to Kansas State University, not I want to go to College of Ag. I want to go here. That's what I was doing. And so it was so cool to hear that on the microphone. And then it just so happened that one of the judges that was at Austin Rodeo was also a Kansas State University alumni. So really full circle moment, got to talk with her at the backdrop about my plans for that next year and kind of how I decided on that. So that was probably one of those moments that definitely made me more interested. It was cool to have that connection with somebody right there before I went to college and then be able to continue to grow and see different sides of the ag industry that I had never even been exposed to just kind of from that moment on. So that was probably one specific moment that really sealed it for me too.
Tell me a little bit more about the job that you're in now with Kansas.
So my job that I have with Kansas State now is a regional recruiter or a regional director of recruitment. So even though Kansas State University is in Manhattan, Kansas, I'm based here in Texas. So my main area that I spend a lot of my time in is Texas. You can go 9 hours away and you're still inside the state. So really my main purpose and my main goal in this role is just to increase awareness about K-State, to talk to those students, to talk to those advisors, alumni, industry people who are like, oh yeah, that's that purple school, or we have our cousin who went to K-State and they know about it, but maybe they just don't know about all of the different units that we have on campus, the job opportunities, the hands-on aspect, or how you can build your network while you're there. So I'm really just trying to show students that this is an opportunity that they have. We have some really awesome scholarship opportunities for students who are wanting to pursue a degree out of state. So really my entire job is just to promote Kansas State and connect with people, which I love K-State. I love people. I love the youth of the ag industry. So it's really, I'm able to do what I love and talk with the people that I love to connect with and be able to share things that I have experienced, but also what's to come in the future too for them. And so here, based here in Texas, but I get to travel around, like Florida FFA convention was one that we were just at this spring. I got to go to World Ag Expo in California and have a booth set up there to talk to students. And we're kind of just trying to find those areas where we can connect with them, whether that's in the or at the conventions or going to classrooms. That's something that I've done mostly here in Texas is I'll go and I'll spend a day in an ag classroom and get to talk to all of the different classes throughout the day, whether they're freshmen or juniors deciding on what school they're going to, or seniors who are maybe going to do a community college, a junior college, and then transfer somewhere else. Or maybe those students have already decided, but it's something that they know they can always go to later on in life, or they just learned something cool about another school they didn't know about prior. So that's kind of a day in the life of my job, but it kind of changes from week to week, whether I'm at a convention or if I'm having desk days. I have a really awesome team who's based in Manhattan, and we also have another member of our team out in Western Kansas. So we work regionally, but we're really close with the people that we have who are there to guide students once they get to the campus too. So it's been a really awesome job to be a part of, and definitely still something that we're mapping out. I feel like each day I'm kind of working on something new or some new way that I can communicate to students or reach more students, more advisors. So I do a lot of outreach. I send a lot of emails to people just trying to connect. So definitely a job that will continue to kind of change, and hopefully we'll make connections and meet super awesome people like you guys and be able to just connect more and continue to have more of a reach and an audience that can hear about those awesome opportunities at Kansas State University College of Ag.
Sounds like a good fit, but you said the youth and the students are your why. What do you mean by that?
For me, I've always loved people. I just love getting to hear about people's backgrounds, their stories, what they love. And specifically when I talk about students and those younger agriculturalists that I'm able to meet being my why, it's because they're so passionate about what they're doing in the industry that they're really young in it. They still have so much time to be able to network with people, to go and do great things that we haven't even thought about yet. So it's so cool to hear about how excited they are, about how many options and opportunities that they have. They might be eighth graders who they haven't even gotten to high school and gotten to participate in all those contests yet. But they love, for example, they love FFA. They're wearing the official dress. They're going and they're talking to people. They're going to the workshops. In eighth grade, I know for myself, I would have been a little hesitant, a little nervous about it, but this industry has really allowed me to kind of expand and be able to connect more with other people. So to see students who are doing that and they're taking those opportunities is just really inspiring for me to be able to be around them. So I definitely feel like their energy and their passions just allow me to continue loving talking to them and being able to just hear about their views on things and their ideas that they have. And so that's really why I would say that students and the young agriculturalists are really my why in all aspects of life, whether it's this job, whether it's my cattle company, or just being able to talk with students at the grocery stores, anything like that.
So you were talking about the different things that K-State has to offer. Can you tell us about some of the programs that the ag kids would be interested in?
Yeah, in the College of Ag, we have 17 majors and 16 minors that are available to students. So I always like to tell them there is really going to be something for everyone. Our biggest one, and probably one that students know the most about, is going to be animal sciences and industry. There's going to be a pre-vet path in there, or a major that's specific for pre-vet students. And we do have our vet college at K-State too. So that's definitely one that's probably our more commonly known. But for students who are thinking, oh, maybe I would really like to go into the policy side, ag economics, ag business, those are both awesome programs that we have both of those on campus for students. I definitely love ag communications since that's what I kind of fell into. But for me, starting at K-State, I like to tell students too, you don't have to know exactly what it is that you want to go in and do. I started ag business because I knew I had my cattle company I was wanting to continue to do, but I felt like maybe all of the numbers wasn't my strength. I love math, but I wasn't that big into it. I can remember taking an Excel class and I was like, ooh, maybe this is not for me. And so for students who love those numbers, they love seeing these huge equations come together. That's definitely a really great program. So ended up switching to animal science for a little bit, then realized I loved my animals, but maybe some of the upper level science classes were not where I could use my strengths. And so I ended up switching to ag communications, and I realized that it was everything that I love to do. I love marketing. I love social media. I love connecting with people. I love being able to advocate for the agriculture industry. And so that's where I kind of found my place. But those are just a couple of the programs. We do have some really cool, kind of unique programs at K-State. We have a bakery science program. We're the only school in the country that offers that in their College of Ag too. So for students who it can be as simple as they know that they want to go and have a bakery later on. But if you wanted to look at, okay, how do we take products like raw eggs, flour, and butter and turn that into something that we're looking at it like this, there's all of this science, all of these steps that go into it that make it safe for people to eat. And then looking at it on the industry side of it, that's a really awesome program that we have at K-State. Agronomy is one that when I'm looking at the backdrop of the podcast, looking at soils, we're looking at products from the ground up. That's a really awesome program, kind of looking at some of the technology side of it too. So really from all different sides of the agriculture industry, food production, on the animal side or on the plant side, or bakery where we're actually mixing that, we're turning it into products that we could be using, or looking at the food safety side with food science. These are all different programs that we have at the College of Agriculture. And that's just a couple of quick ones that I can list right off the bat. Ag education, I talk a lot about advisors, teachers, that's huge. So students have a really awesome ag teacher, a really awesome extension agent, and they know I want to be able to do this. That's definitely a program that a lot of students gravitate towards as well. But that's just a couple of the programs that are specific to K-State. But I can definitely talk about units that we have on campus and how they're able to have hands-on learning experiences with each of those programs too.
Can you tell us a little bit something personally that you remember through K-State that applies to your current career path?
Probably the best example of my personal experiences at K-State, whenever I was a freshman there, I heard about this program called College of Ag Ambassadors, and I was trying to find a couple different clubs and organizations to become a part of while I was there. And so ended up applying and being accepted into the program. And what College of Ag Ambassadors is that those are the students who are helping with any kind of recruitment practices. So if a student is coming to campus, they're doing a general campus tour, campus visit, and then they're going to specific colleges that they're looking at. So when they come to the College of Ag, that's where an Ag Ambassador student is actually able to sit in on the visit with our staff and our faculty and share their personal experiences at K-State. So maybe that's talking about dorms, maybe that's talking about on-campus jobs, maybe that's talking about why you ended up at K-State, or the out-of-state perspective, in-state perspective. You're actually able to experience that and do that as an undergraduate student at K-State. So College of Ag Ambassadors is definitely kind of the star of why I get to do this role now and why I love it so much. So the first year I got to kind of just experience a couple of the visits, learn about some of the events that we would get to go to. And then over my couple of years that I was at K-State, I got to go to National FFA Convention with our team. I actually got to go to Texas FFA as an undergraduate student and go and help with that. I got to go to Kansas State Fair. Me being from Texas, I had never been there before, so it was really cool to get to go and experience these places and talk to students who I never would have had the opportunity to meet had I not been able to be a part of that organization. So I would say for being involved in different things on campus, that was probably what really led me to being in this role. I connected with our awesome staff, faculty that we had on campus, and some of those are a part of the team that I work with now. So it's been really cool to be able to kind of transition from being an undergrad and then now being in this role. We had always kind of talked here and there during my time in Ag Ambassadors about when we would go out of state, we would have these really awesome conversations. We would tell students about our out of state scholarships and their eyes would just light up. And so we always talked about being able to be there and be present, and how can we connect with those out of state students who just are aware about the programs and the opportunities that we have to offer. And so kind of always talked about ideas of what we could be doing. And it would be so awesome if I could graduate from K-State and I could still work with you guys and work regionally and talk about K-State. And it was just always something that was an idea. And then finally we decided, okay, let's make an effort to really make this happen. We saw that when we would go to states, we would have more students who are interested from that area that we were just in. So what happens if we have somebody who is there, who is doing that, who is putting a face to that area and being able to represent them whenever they're going through the application process, whenever they're scheduling campus visits, whenever they're trying to figure out, okay, I live in Houston, Texas. How long is it going to take me to drive to Manhattan, Kansas? Or what's the best way that I could book a flight and go there instead of driving? So being able to share those experiences, because I've personally gone through it, but also because we want to help those students and we want to be able to be resources to them. So that's kind of how I transitioned from being in Ag Ambassadors to now being in this role. Kind of one of the moments from my time in my classes and in the program I was involved in, whenever I switched to Ag Communications, I was hearing about all these really cool opportunities. I did a study abroad trip outside of the College of Ag with our Fine Arts College, and I got to go to Italy for a month over summer. It was the coolest experience that I could have ever had at 20 years old. I was like, wow, this is so awesome. I get to solo travel. I get to meet these people. And I was really looking at the agriculture side of the trip, but I wasn't in a College of Ag specific study abroad. So I was kind of the only one who was looking at, okay, this is really cool that we're at this vineyard, but guys, check out what they're doing over here. And so after I got back from that trip and I was finding out about other study abroad trips, I found out that each college program in the College of Agriculture does a study abroad trip every other year. So Ag Communications had one going my senior semester. I graduated in fall of 24. So it was Thanksgiving of November of 2024. And we were going to be going to Ireland. And as soon as I found out about it, I texted my friend. I said, Claire, we have got to get on this trip. We need to go to Ireland. It's our senior semester. We're going to do the trip. It's with Ag Communications. And so applied for that. Really cool thing is that if you are a K-State student in the College of Ag and you do a program, then you get a scholarship just because you're a College of Ag student doing one of those study abroad trips. So I got a really awesome scholarship for that. Went and we were there for 10 or 12 days, 10 to 12 days. And we got to do a tour of all these really cool cities. And we got to go out to do farm tours. We got to go see older dairies, some newer dairies. We were able to connect with the Irish Farm Journal. And so it was just so cool to be able to kind of be wrapping up 3.5 years of living somewhere new, learning about all kinds of stuff, and then go somewhere else where there's a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of differences at the same time. So kind of comparing and kind of saying, hey, like we have this at K-State, or I used to do this back home in Texas too. And being able to just connect with people of all ages, of all backgrounds, on an international level was just a moment that was so cool, and an opportunity that I just brought it up out of nowhere. I had to talk about my Ireland study abroad trip. And so something that's definitely going to stick with me for the rest of my life. And so now I always like to tell students, if study abroad is something that you have ever thought about, or traveling abroad is ever something you've considered, take the opportunity to do that with your college if it's something you're interested in, because you have people who are there supporting you. They've done these trips before. They have those connections. They can help with transportation. And you're able to have all of those opportunities to go and see these different things and go and do these visits that if you were solo traveling, maybe you wouldn't have thought, oh, I need to reach out to Irish Farm Journal. I have to go and meet them. And so definitely just a really great opportunity that I love to talk to students. I love to talk to adults and people I connect with about it. And it's just a really great opportunity that I never would have had I not gone to K-State and kind of looked at those different programs too.
We get almost all, US based folks in our podcasts, and we don't get a lot of insight into international farming. Would you say, from what you've seen in two different European countries, agriculture is more different, or a lot of the same things that you see over here in agriculture in the United States?
The people side of it, I would say that it's very similar. Whether I'm meeting somebody who's 26 going back from their university, going back to their family farm there, they're probably going to be pretty similar to me in the aspect of, I just finished up my degree. I have all these awesome ideas and I want to keep doing these. But then if I meet somebody who it's multi-generations of farming, it's the same kind of person that I'd be meeting right beside my ranch in South Texas. And so the people aspect of it, I feel like, is very similar. They're wanting to talk about what they have going on, these new ideas, the things that have been working, the weather. There's a lot of rain in Ireland, so much rain, so much moisture. And so when it comes to the people aspect of it, I think that it's definitely very similar. And then a lot of the production could be kind of similar, but there's different technologies that each country kind of uses or they haven't used yet that I kind of noticed. So one of the big things for me being like a cattle person was we use AI embryo transfer on a lot of our cattle that we use. We have some really awesome recips that we do a lot of that work. And so that's something that I'm very familiar with, artificial insemination and the process of it and selecting. And once we went to Ireland, it was something that in a couple of the dairies we went to, something kind of new that they were adapting in those areas. So that was something that I can remember doing it on my first couple of show heifers that I had. And it's been something that is very familiar, but then in that aspect, they just haven't done it yet because they didn't need to, or maybe it was something that on their personal operation, they just weren't kind of looking into that yet. So some different kind of technologies, but then being able to see, for me, being on the beef cattle side of things, I had never walked around a dairy before and seen all of that production. I mean, they have so much quality products coming out of those things, but they still can know tag one and they have a name for her. And so being able to see that they have such quality products coming out and they have these smaller scale operations that they're able to still identify this one specific cow who's been with us for 9 years and she's going to stay here. That was just really awesome to see and hear about from these people who are so passionate about it. And it's just something that they've done with their family for years. So that was definitely a little different just because I do feel like in the US, I mean, we have such large scale operations and there are still a lot of areas that there are those family ones there, but I haven't gotten to see personally as many as I did there, where we were just stopping at each of these locations and hearing about it. Here, if I did a tour, I'd probably go see a really big, huge company and their awesome facility. And it's so cool to see because it's large, but maybe not that connection of, oh, there's tag 5 right there. That's Dolly, who we've had for this long. And so definitely some similarities, but also some differences kind of depending on which way you look at it too. And so it was really an awesome thing to be able to see while I was there too.
When you were younger, you were in 4-H and FFA. How is it that the kids connect?
We really do try to put an emphasis on connecting through multiple avenues. So I've talked a lot about me being in person, but for those students who maybe aren't in FFA or they're not in 4-H, we really try to keep up with social media. We have an awesome marketing team for College of Agriculture, but then also Kansas State University as a whole does a really great job with their social media websites. I work specifically with the College of Agriculture, but there are other awesome colleges at K-State. Our College of Engineering is awesome. I've got to work with a lot of the people who are in that college. College of Business, that's where I had my business minor out of. We have our health and sciences colleges. So there's a ton of other opportunities outside of the College of Ag. So I always, if I talk to a student and they tell me, oh, I would really like to go major in psychology, if you're interested in that, I would love to connect you with the people in that college too. So I always like to really be a resource for all of the students, but then more specifically, I work with College of Ag once they kind of figure out where they're going. But yeah, if it's not something where we get to connect with them in person, I definitely think that being able to look at websites and social media is a great place for students to start. But then going on from that, I always encourage students, whether it's K-State or a college that is close to home that you've known about or other out-of-state schools, I always tell students, if you can, do a visit, or if not, do a virtual meeting with the people who are there on campus, because you really have to be able to picture yourself somewhere in any aspect of life, whether it's a new job, whether it's moving schools, or fresh out of college, deciding where you're going to move next. So being able to put yourself in that setting and say, I could see myself here, or I would really love to become a part of that. I think that that's the most important thing. And there's not just one specific place for people. I think that you can go and you can thrive in so many different environments. So kind of finding the place that you want to spend that time and that you know that you're going to be supported and uplifted, whether it's through your education or clubs, organizations that you're becoming a part of, housing, anything like that. I think that that is very important. So I think that first base, checking off, okay, I've looked at the websites, I have applied, but then visiting is something that I always say that you should definitely try to do. For me, that's what sealed the deal. And so I think it's really just an important aspect of kind of figuring out what's next in any aspects of life, but definitely with college too.
So I think you said that your position you're doing for K-State now is relatively new. What are your plans going forward? Do you have anything interesting that you'd like to implement or change?
So yeah, this position is definitely pretty new. We kind of did a trial period and then officially just started it in January of this year. So definitely a new position. But yeah, moving forward, the big plans for this year, we're trying to find those different conventions that we really wanted to be a part of. So where I got to meet Tara, Florida FFA, that was one that K-State College of Ag had not had a presence at before. And it was our first year. We had a great time. The people who make up Florida FFA were just awesome. And so finding those different events that we can reach we have audiences that we haven't met before. I got to go to Texas 4-H Roundup. It was a really great event. I had been involved in 4-H when I was younger before FFA, but never went to any of the state level events. So that was really awesome. And I got to talk to students who maybe they're not in FFA or maybe they're homeschooled. So I would not have seen them at any of these high school conventions or high school visits that I did. And so those are a couple of the larger events that we've kind of been looking at. And then going into the future, trying to pinpoint, okay, we have an event, say it's a college career fair or it's an alumni event in this month and it is in Fort Worth, Texas, whatever, I'm going to a region, trying to schedule that entire week out of, okay, we have a college or a school visit here. We have a meeting that we can go talk to FFA students. We have an alumni at this college that we can go and talk to, or this business, or maybe we do an alumni event with them where students are able to come meet us, kind of do a class thing while we're there. And so that's definitely something that I'm excited about moving forward, is the potential for different events that I can help plan, coordinate, and work with, say, our alumni who are working in the industry, or they have their own businesses that they have started, being able to connect with them and the rest of the alumni, but also bring in those current students or those future prospective students, and then be able to hear from the people who have been at K-State, who have experienced it, and have that support system that is in their region. I think that that's just a huge part of it. So that's probably something that I'm most excited about moving forward, is the potential for these different collaborative events that we can bring in all kinds of different people and have them be a part of it in different ways. I think it's just really important for you to be able to have a support system every step of the way. So how cool would it be, for example, being in Texas and knowing, okay, I met Kiki, she's a couple years older than me and she's cool enough to talk to for a bit. Now I can go to K-State, but I also got to meet, say, Eric at Miller Milling, and he is managing this huge milling plant. And so having those people in your corner that, you know, okay, I have them at home who's supporting me, but then I go to K-State, I live those years. And then when it comes time to graduate, then you have this network of people who you've built up, and then you're finding those different jobs. You never know what opportunities pop up. So the idea of being able to be a part of something like that is just really exciting.
I kind of want to know more about like your progression of your beef thing that you said you have now. Like you started showing beef cows and then it turned into this thing that you do on the side for fun, it sounds like.
So whenever I first started showing cattle, it was steers, but I decided I wanted something that I could keep after I was done showing it. So got my first couple of Beefmaster heifers, and they're awesome. One of them is still our main donor cow we have. So over the years that I was showing through FFA or Junior Beefmaster Breeders Association, I collected all of these really awesome breeding pieces and show calves that went on and did really well during their show career. But we have our ranch just south of Victoria, Texas, if anybody is familiar with where that's at. And we took all of them once they were done showing down to the ranch. And over a couple of years, we had a bull out there who would just naturally jump all of them. And we had a couple of pretty nice calves that we sold to scramble students or different things like that. And then as I was getting closer to being done with high school, really me, my dad, and a couple of my brothers, we talked about trying to take this to the next level. So we started Hubbard Cattle Company is the name of the business. And we started bringing in AI, and that's where we would AI these cows, and we got some really nice calves out of them. And then we started utilizing embryo transfer, IVF. And so that was where we saw the biggest growth in the crops of cattle that we had. And we were able to choose, okay, this one's a nice calf, but maybe not for the show ring, but this could be a really great one. And so we started doing private treaty where we just had customers come look at calves, sell them that way. And then we put together a sale. It's called the Beefmaster Revolution. And it's my family and then another breeder were the hosts of the sale. And then we have all these really awesome consigners who come put their own calves into the sale. It's mostly show cattle, mostly heifers. We've had a couple of bulls in there too. And so it's for juniors who are showing, for people who have their own show cattle operation and company, that they can come and buy these really awesome calves that we put together. We do it twice a year, and they can take them into the show ring too. And so we've kind of grown from just heifers to then some bulls. We've sold some flushes, some embryos, some semen in those sales, and we have it twice a year in the fall and in the spring. So we're kind of gearing up to start our fall stuff here now. And so that's really where we saw growth in the cattle company. We were able to have some new customers who we weren't able to meet prior. We market that really heavily. And so it's something that we saw more and more people coming and looking at calves. So now we get to put a couple of them in the sale each year. And then we do a lot of private treaty. And so it started with me showing, but now I get to sell them to different individuals. And when it comes to juniors who are showing, I love helping them with showmanship and the feeding, breeding, and management of those cattle too. So it's cool because it's something that I love to do. I've been able to do it with my family, but I still get to use some of the communications, a little bit of the knowledge of, hey, I know my feed science friend over here talked about this feed that you could probably use. And so that's been really cool. So that's kind of the progression of our cattle company. We have a couple of our main donors, I would say around 10 that we utilize pretty heavy. And then we have a Beefmaster bull out there too. So sometimes we'll get a natural calf, but definitely a lot of embryo kind of work too. And so, yeah, it's just kind of grown over time. I'm really thankful for my family for being awesome to work with on that. And it's been really cool to kind of continue that over many, many years.
So if someone wanted to get involved with that, where would they go to find you?
First place would probably be it's called The Beefmaster Revolution on Facebook. We have a Facebook page that we update for the sales themselves. But if they wanted to reach me personally, I still need to, this is crazy being ag communications and not having a website or anything official for that. But we really try to connect with all of our customers and everybody individually. So reaching out to myself or my dad, mostly Facebook is where we have a lot of those connections, I would say, and we post pretty heavily on there. So those are kind of the major ways. And then usually when it comes to show season, major stock show season in Texas, if a calf goes well, it says bred by Kennedy Hubbard Cattle Company. So I'll typically see a couple extra friend requests pop up and messages come through that way too.
So Kiki, go ahead and your final thoughts, whatever you want the listeners to hear. You can go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we covered so much, but I think that to kind of wrap everything up, I just want to talk about how important it is to take those opportunities that are presented to you, whether it's a college opportunity or the opportunity to just apply to different places, or maybe it's a new job that you might be a little bit nervous about, or moving somewhere else, or just going on a trip somewhere. I think that there's so many different opportunities for growth and seeing different things in life. And the best thing that you can do is take it. You never know what's to come of it, and never be nervous to just say yes, or I want to go and try to do this thing. And so for students, for anybody who's listening and you've dealt with me listening for this long, I think that I just want to tell you to take that opportunity. And if that opportunity is K-State College of Ag, never hesitate to reach out to any of us at the university. We're here to help students in any way possible. And if there's anything that we can help with, I know I'm going to share my email in there, but my email is kennedyhubbard@ksu.edu, Kennedy being KENADEE, Hubbard, HUBBARD @ksu.edu. So that's kind of my last wrap up, but I just want to say thank you guys for having me on here. It's been a really awesome conversation, and I feel like we covered a lot of different things about the job and about the ag industry as a whole and education. So you guys do an awesome job.
Okay, Kiki, thanks for joining us. And that's about all we have for this podcast.
So thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us, share, and join us again as we grow in the knowledge about the world that feeds us.